Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today we've got a Christmas card for you that is perhaps a card that we don't always think about, but this is a card for somebody who has lost someone fairly near to Christmas, and you obviously still want to send them a card, but you want to obviously be sensitive to their loss, so the sentiment needs to be appropriate, and perhaps the style of the card as well. I mean, you want it to be Christmassy, but you don't want it to be over jolly. So I put together some sentiments to go in the card and on the front of the card, which I think work quite nicely. But obviously this card can be used for regular inverted commas Christmas cards, and if you want to do that, then it's very simple just to change that sentiment. So all you need to do is click on this and ungroup it until you get to just that tag. Then you go to the bottom here and you do detach, and then you can get to the sentiment there. You can see it's highlighted. You can click on it and you can see it's highlighted itself, so you can retype something using the same font if you already have that font, or you can just delete it and put a sentiment that comes in the images section. They have sentiments there pre-done, or you could just type your own in a font of your choice, so you could just change the font here. So long as you make sure it says writing, you're fine. And the same principle for the one here again. So it's nice and simple to do and change. Now the other thing I want to show you is, let me just put that back so it's grouped together. Okay, yep, is that we've got here my easy peasy card method, but on the Cricut. Now the reason I did that was because I'm using a piece of cream card that only comes in A4. Now it's actually Stampin' Up card, so it's going to be available in the 8.5 by 11 as well, and this will work on that too. Now if you already have a card base that's 6 by 6, then that you don't need to use this section, and you could just delete this bit completely. Or if you have a piece of 12 by 12 card that's going to work for your card base, then you can just change this to a regular card and just go into your images and find a regular card and make it 6 by 6. Or actually what I did was make it 5.9 by 5.9, so that once it's folded, so that it's just slightly smaller than the 6 by 6 envelope. However, what we've got here is, as I said, my easy peasy card method. It's still not ungrouped. There we go. And what you can see is you've got two elements. So what we've got here is the 5.9 by 5.9 square here, plus an inch with a score line. Then we've got a 5.9 by just a smidge under the 5.9 on the back part. Now the reason it's slightly smaller is that because when you stick these together, you very often just very slightly come across, because you can't quite stick it into the actual fold. So what happens is, if you make it exactly the same size, it will tend to just pop out a little bit on that front edge, and so you end up having to cut that off. So I adjusted it slightly on here. Okay, so there is all ready to go. So as I say, if you want to go ahead as it is, then all we need to do now is make it. By the way, if you want to, as with most of my Cricut projects, if you want to make the card, you will find the card on my website, the download rather for the card on my website, so you can easily download that to make it, so you don't have to fiddle around doing all the work to get the design. So all we need to do here now is change this either to A4 or 8.5 by 11, depending on what your card base is, and the same for this piece as well. So that's all ready to go. Make sure you go back to the beginning one, and then we need to click on continue. It's just going to find my Cricut. So then it's going to ask me what cardstock I want. I usually tend to go for this one just because it's a really heavy cardstock, and I find it just cuts through better if I do it like this. We've got a very detailed piece to come and cut, so I want to make sure it cuts through it really nicely. It's telling me to load my pen and to load my fine point blade, and that's what you need to just watch out, because as we get further down, I think it's the next one, is going to want the score tool. So you just need to keep watching to make sure that you're loading all the correct things that it wants at any particular time. Okay, so I'm going to go across to my Cricut and we're gonna go and see what happens over there now. So we're just gonna put our pen in this holder. You've got a little arrow on the side of the pen there. You just want to make sure that clicks and then lock it in place. And then I've got my cardstock on my mat here, so then we just click on there to load it. I've already got the blade in position. Wait for the little cricket head to start flashing, and then we'll press that and off it goes in a minute. Okay, so that's that one done. So then we just eject it. I'm going to put the next thing on the mat, etc, etc. So when all of this is cut, I will come back to you and show you what's what. Okay, so here it is all cut out. So that's our snowflake layer, which I think looks really nice. And we've got our writing for the inside, our sentiment, and we've got our sentiment for the outside. We've got our layer for the inside, and then we've got our card base, and that's with our extra piece here that's scored. So we just want to very carefully just fold that over on that score line, which was nicely and easy to do. And then we've got this piece here, which is going to sit over the top. Now, it doesn't matter if it's not perfect here, as long as you match it up at these edges here. That's the bit that counts, the most important. And obviously you want that on the outside, not on the inside, because you don't want it on the inside of your card. So we're going to get our wet glue, so it's nice and strong. Just smudge it around. So you just want to put those corners together. Make sure it's level at the top as well, and then just push that down. And then hold that in position just while that dries off. So you've got that sort of little line on the back there, which you can just, it's not very major. I can only get you to, there you go. But it creates your card base that you can then have any size you want, which is just really, really great. So we've got that. Now, it's not the thickest card in the world. Normally I wouldn't use this as a card base, but I'm going to be doing 2 layers on the inside and a layer and a sentiment on the front. So I think that's going to give it more than enough sort of thickness. So we'll just let that bit nicely dry, and then we'll, while that's doing that, we'll put these two together to dry, to stick and dry. And of course the good thing with the wet glue is it just does give you a little bit of movement time. Okay, so while those are just drying off, I wanted to take some ribbon and just pop it through this here. Let's think, we want to go down in there. Hopefully this is just the right width. Yeah, perfect. That is exactly right. I mean, I couldn't have done that better if I'd actually planned it. And then what I'm going to do is just get my tape pen here, and I'm going to run some tape pen along the back, and then I'm going to just stick that down so that that holds it in place, so that when we then chop this to size, quite sure how big I want that really. Let's have a, we don't want it sort of popping off the sides really, do we?
maybe about there. And then probably about there, isn't it? And then we can just actually sort of lightly stick that down when it comes down to it, just to hold it in place a little bit. But I thought that just gives a nice little extra element. What we need to do next is this here, which is going to be super fun. And I'm going to try it with this tape pen, which is going to put some kind of bits of tape showing through, but I was hoping is that when I go over it with a bit of tissue, like a bit of paper towel, that would get rid of any excess. And I really think I like, as always, I do like my square cards to open at the top, so I'm going to do that. I'm hoping this isn't a big mistake, putting that on. And what I'm hoping is that then when I rub with this, any excess of the tape will attach itself to the paper towel, like so. Okay, now there may be a little bit excess there, but that's okay because I have a thought. Okay, so we just rub that all in, get any excess off, and that's just going to stick really nicely to me and to any parts of that card. I'm hoping you can just catch that look where it had got that little bit of adhesive showing through. It's really hard to, there you go, can you just see it? Just a little bit where there was a bit of adhesive, and it's just a nice way, it's not then sort of over the top, but it just adds a little something to. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is just add the inside to my card. Okay, and then just taking this, popping it in the side, making sure my hands aren't messy from glue before I move it about. It's got enough time that you can. And the only reason I'm doing it with my hands like this is because my hands are so glittery. I'm just trying to make sure I don't put too much glitter on the inside as well. Okay, so I'm just going to get some of this 3D foam strips. I'm just going to put one that's going to go all the way across, including onto that little bit of ribbon, because I want just to make sure that that stays put and doesn't flap about, because I think that's not a good look. And then I'm going to do another piece that I'm just going to cut in half. I'm going to put it here and here, like so. And then I'm going to just add a little of the wet glue to our 3D foam, because we're going on something that's different levels, and also we did put a bit of glitter on it as well, so that will just help make sure it stays put. And then I'm going to pop this in, so that's the centre there, so we're just going to cut that like that, and then we can make sure it's lined up as well. And there it is. A lovely sentiment. Okay, so I've just pulled that up a little bit because I want to put these underneath, so I need to just chop the ends off these. I'm trying to be reasonably quick, although I can put some more glue down if I need to, but in fact I almost certainly will, because it will hold these down as well. And then I'm going to just take a little bit of adhesive on the back of those just to be sure they stay where they're meant to be. And then we'll just put a little blob of glue onto that as well, just to make sure. And just hold it. This would have been easier to do before I put the sentiment down, and also to use hot glue, but since I'd already done the sentiment, I had to do it a little bit backwards. So if you were doing this, I would suggest you use your hot glue gun. And there you go, there it is, all finished. And we've got the inside and then the outside with just that additional little sprig of Christmas. Just very classic though. Okay, so that is it for this time. I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your comments, and as always, if you could like, subscribe and all that good stuff. Thanks again, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.